Hello and welcome to this episode of the Veterans History Project, Santa Clarita Valley Edition. The Veterans History Project is an initiative of the American Folklife Center at the Library of Congress. The Santa Clarita Valley Edition is spearheaded by College of the Canyons in association with the Santa Clarita Valley Senior Center and the Santa Clarita Valley Historical Society. The project relies on volunteers to collect the oral histories of U.S. military veterans and support personnel who served in active war zones. My name is Christine Bitter, and my guest today is John Kramp, a veteran of World War II. Thank you for being with us today, John.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Well, let's start at the very beginning and tell me where and when you were born.
Well, I was born on October 9th, 1912, in Newburgh, New York, along the Hudson River, just above West Point.
Tell me your parents' occupation.
My dad was an iron molder, a highly skilled iron molder, but unfortunately there was a depression and he was out of work a lot.
Tell me about your siblings.
Well, I have one brother who was now deceased, but he was 7 years older than I was.
What were you doing before you entered service?
I had started my career with American Felt Company, which has a plant in Newburgh, New York, and I started as a mill hand and was later transferred to the New York sales office to go in the sales department, and then I was drafted from there.
Did you have any children, or were you married?
We had one son. He had been born just before I got drafted.
Have any other family members served?
My son was served during the Vietnam War, and I had uncles and cousins that were served during World War II.
When you were drafted, when did you depart?
Oh, I can't remember that, I don't think, but I was sent to Camp Landing, Florida. It was a brand new division being formed. The 66th Division was just being formed at Camp Landing, Florida, and they sent a lot of raw recruits there.
All right. Tell me about your early days in training, the physical regimen, the barracks, adjusting to life in the early time there.
Well, the Army is as hard as you make it, I guess, because if you fight it, you're going to lose. But in my case, I was older than all the other draftees. I was 12 years older. I was 30 and they're all 18. Okay. And I should have sat in the corner and said I'm too old to do it, but I didn't.
Tell me about any specialized training that you had.
Oh, I don't think I had any specialized training, just a regular infantry training. And then I was made to supply sergeant.
When you had concluded your training, tell me where you served.
Where I served? Well, we started out at Camp Landing, Florida, did some of our basic training there, then went to Camp Robinson, Arkansas, and did more basic training. And then we went to Camp Rucker, Alabama for our final training before going overseas.
And what way did you go overseas? How did you arrive in Europe?
We went from New York and landed in England, and then from England we were broken up, and I went on an LST, and then the rest of the division went on a troop ship. It was Christmas morning. And I had gone to Mass. And on my way home, I said to myself, I don't think I'll bother going back to the base. I'll stay in town. And then I saw a lot of trucks go on. And we were moving Christmas Day from England to France. And the one ship, one of the ships had 2 regiments on, and a submarine hit it, and we lost 800 men right there. They shunted us off to the side and moved another division ahead of us. And they were in bad shape from that cold weather in the north, in the English Channel At that time of year, the water is very cold, and a lot of them were laid up for a long time from the cold weather. We were short troops for a long time. We were on our way to the Bulge. We landed in Cherbourg, France, but we were sent to Saint-Nazaire and Lorient to hold the German pockets. There were submarine pens there, and they were operating, still operate as of today. They never could destroy them because they were sunk so deep and in heavy concrete.
Tell me about your time during combat.
Well, I was a supply sergeant, and I had 6 officers and 200 men to keep supplied with ammunition and clothing. Didn't have the food. The food was under the mess sergeant. I took care of all their other needs for 200 men and 6 officers. I had a very easy time. I was always behind the lines because the supply sergeant and the mess sergeant stayed behind. And so I did not have a lot of combat time, although our division was in combat for several months straight. Supply sergeant was the best job that I could have had because it gave me a chance to use my ingenuity, I guess. I used to say I'd steal anything in sight because it was still in the service of the United States Army, whether it was A companies or B companies. So that was my philosophy. I also, we used to run a PX once a week for the troops. They'd bring in a whole load of material, candies, cigarettes, and everything would sell out but one item, a big box of sour balls, all-day suckers.
Okay.
And nobody would buy them. So I would buy them each month from the man who was running it for the one who was running the PX for us. And pretty soon I had 5 or 6 cases of these sour balls, and everybody was kidding me.
Nobody wanted candy.
So I took them into town and sold them to a baker for $50 a case. I made $45 a case.
Did you really?
Yes.
Wow, you were thinking.
I'll probably get put in jail for that.
I hope not. I think it's too late now.
Yeah, but the supply job gave me a chance to do things and wheel and deal, so to speak.
Okay.
Another time I traded a .45 pistol for a truck.
Did you really?
Yeah, pretty
Tell
good
me about
deal.
that.
It was a good truck.
Yeah, that's a pretty darn good deal, if I say so
But
myself.
those are the things that I could do as a supply sergeant.
What did you do with the truck?
I left it to somebody when I come home. I didn't care. I used it, and when I was ready to come home, I gave it to somebody else.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. So there were a lot of things you could do, and it made life interesting in a dull world.
Okay. Well, I had heard something about some phones too, as I understand. Is that right?
Huh?
Phones?
Well, the telephones. You see, we had the Germans surrounded, so we had placements every 50 or 60 yards apart. And we didn't have enough field phones. A rifle company only has issued 2 field phones, and that's for the border section. So the fellas at night, when the Germans would come up and annoy them, would have tin cans and things like that on a string, and they'd rattle them, and that would mean they had signals made up that they had. So I tried to get some extra field phones, and they wouldn't give them to me legally. So I went looking for them, and I took 6 bottles of gin. The officers got a liquor allowance, and I told the company commander I wanted a gin. So I took 6 bottles of gin, and I went looking for field phones, and I found a black field phone unit, and I pulled up in my Jeep and went in and saw he was the biggest black man I think I've ever seen in my life. And he asked me very politely what he could do for me. And I said, Sergeant, I need field phones. He says, oh, we're so scarce on field phones. We are short of field phones. And I said, well, I am really sorry to hear that, because I have 6 bottles of gin in that truck out there, and I'm going to go to Paris if I have to get 6 field phones. He said, just pull that truck right around back. And that was it. And I went on down the road and went home and we had our good communications. Our section of the line had good communications because of the field phones.
Excellent. How many people worked with you?
I had two people that worked with me. Mm-hmm. One is the armor artificer who took care of the weapons, and another one was just a handyman and took care of regular supplies.
How often would you disperse materials to
the
company?
Every day.
What types of things would they come to you for?
Well, you see, they had a salvage system, and if you wore out a pair of jeans or something, you'd take it to the supply sergeant and hand in the old one, and they would give you a new one. Okay.
So all day you would be set up in a tent nearby?
Oh, well, we had it was in the, of course, in the States, there was a supply room in every setup. Mm-hmm. But over when you're in combat, I had a supply room in a big chateau one time.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
A beautiful chateau.
Was it?
And I used part of it for a supply room.
Oh, okay. How often did you get shipments of supplies?
Oh, that was a constant thing. We would have to requisition it, and then they would ship to us.
I see. So you perform these tasks in France as well as in Germany, is that right?
Oh, yeah. That's a supply sergeant, and wherever he is, he's busy taking care of clothes or equipment.
Tell me about the food that you ate while you were in service there in Europe. Was the food good? Did you enjoy
Our food was adequate. Okay. We had, and if you happen to be lucky enough to have good cooks who could use their imagination and take an interest in the food, it was good. It was good.
How long were you in France and then in Germany?
Well, we were in France for about a year, you know.
And then after that?
Well, I didn't stay long in Germany because I had a lot. You were discharged on a point system, and that's a whole other story. And I had a lot of points because I got credit for children and being married and so forth.
Okay. So tell me about the other places that you went when you were in the service there in Europe.
Oh, I guess I took a trip to Switzerland on a vacation
Oh, you did?
And stuff like that.
What did you do while you were there?
Just saw the sights, rode the trolley cars in Switzerland.
Did you go with friends or did you?
Oh, we went with a group, yes. We went with a group.
Okay. What types of things did you do while you were on R&R or vacation? Did you go see movies?
Just being a good tourist. Yeah. We had a regular trip planned for us, and we had a good tour. We were only going a week.
What other places did you see while you were in Europe that were interesting to you?
Well, I didn't get much time off, no.
Most of it was working time?
Yes, yes.
You served for a total of 3 years, is that correct? Or?
3 years I was in the service, yeah. You
had brought in these medals here. There's one in particular that...
Well, none of them are consequential except the Combat Infantry Badge. That's this one here. That's the CBI, that's the Combat Infantry Badge. Mm-hmm. And every infantry soldier is proud of that. Plus you get $15 a month more. Excellent. That's the big thing.
Okay. Tell me about what your feelings were when you were there.
When I was in combat, well, it was hard having a wife and the child. And incidentally, our daughter was born while I was in France. after the war, while I was still in the war, in the Army.
Mm-hmm. How did you communicate with your wife and your friends during this time? Did your wife send you pictures?
Airmail. Yeah, they had good service.
How often would you write letters to your wife?
Every day.
Did you ever receive any pictures or anything like that from home? Or?
Oh yes, and packages. And
tell me where you were when the war ended.
Well, we were at Saint-Nazaire and Lorient, and the Germans surrendered after the Battle of the Bulge, but the German commander for the pocket that we had the Germans in at Saint-Nazaire and Lorient refused to retire or surrender. So the war lasted a couple of days extra for us.
Okay.
Finally, he decided to surrender, but he didn't surrender when he was supposed to.
Sounds like one for the history books there.
Yeah.
Tell me, how did you return home?
Oh, I returned home. I was in Marseille, and I flew home from Marseille.
When you flew home, did you fly home to New York? Was your family there to meet you? And tell me about that.
They didn't know I was coming. I just flew home and was discharged about a month later.
So how was your reception when you came home from family and from the community?
Oh, for the family and the friends and the people were very appreciative, yes. Got a good reception.
How was it to see your family again after such a long time and to see your daughter and your wife?
It's an experience you don't live very often, and you just want to be home and be with your family.
Talk to me about your readjustment to life at home. Did you start work again right away?
I had about 2 weeks off, and then I went to work. My company told me I could work at the mill where I started, so I wouldn't have to move my family. So they just made a job for me at the factory right after the war was over.
What did you do for your company at that time?
Well, I started out as a mill hand, but I ended up in sales and marketing. Mm-hmm. And my last job before I retired was I was regional sales manager for the company.
Wonderful. How was it to readjust back to your life before? Was it an easy adjustment, or did it have some challenges? Tell me about that.
Oh, I don't know. I think it was pretty easy, yeah. You don't, it was different, for you had been 4 years away, but I think we all adjusted pretty quickly. I just wanted to be home and back to work again and start my career again.
Did you learn any practical life lessons from your experience?
In the Army?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't think so. Not really. We just learned to tough it out and get going.
Okay. Tell me about the friendships that you formed while you were in service.
Well, I think we formed very strong friendships. Some of them I'm still maintaining.
Tell me about those.
I just had a visit from a friend of mine who was the mess sergeant, and he come visit me for a week. And we stay, and we have a very active division reunion group. We have a reunion every year, so we keep pretty active and keep good contact.
What brought you to to California?
My son is married, and they lived here in Santa Clarita, and my wife just died, and so I had a home in Fullerton, and it was just too big, so I sold it and moved up here, and now a resident of Sunrise.
Okay. Do you have any grandchildren, or?
Oh, yes, I have 3 grandchildren. They're all married and have families.
Have any of them served in the military or show any interest in serving?
Oh, no. None of them served in the military. My son served because he had to, because there was a draft on.
Mm-hmm. Did your son serve in the Army as well?
Yep.
Or
Yes.
were you able to help him while he was serving in order to
he was too
give
smart.
him any advice or anything like that?
He was too smart for me. He left college and went into service.
What were your son's duties in the Army?
My son he drove a tank.
Okay.
He was in a tank division. He volunteered for the tanks during the Korean War.
Did the two of you talk a lot about the time that you were in service, and is it something that brings the two of you together?
Not much.
That you have that in common, that you were both in military?
Well, we have stories to tell, but it's not something you want to linger on. You want to get in, get it over with, and start your life again. Mm-hmm. He was very successful. He's a retired United Airline pilot. He flew 747s.
Tell me if there is anything that you would like young people to know about the service. What would you tell a young person today about your service in the military?
I'd recommend every 18-year-old boy and girl now to serve at least 6 months or a year of military service. It'd be good for the country.
Why do you think it would be good for the country for them to
Because
serve?
you'd have respect for what the military does. The military does a great job keeping us bad people away from our shores.
What else would young people have to learn from serving in the military?
Well, they have to learn discipline, and that's important, to learn discipline. And I think respect for your fellow soldier is important that you learn. So it's a good experience. I don't recommend it for life vocation, but I think it would be good for every man to serve.
Well, thank you for joining us today and sharing your experience with us. And thank you for watching. If you'd like to see more Santa Clarita episodes of the Veterans History Project, log on to scvtv.com. I'm Christine Bitter. We'll see you next time.